Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes she's been giving everything to prove she's worth staying for, when all along she was the prize. The truth is, it's not the woman who gives the most that keeps his attention. It's the one who knows she could walk away and still shine. Because the second you stop chasing love, love starts chasing you. The moment you stop begging to be chosen and start choosing yourself, that's when he feels it. That's when he wants you more than ever before. And women learn it too late. They learn it after they've given too much, after they've tried too hard, after they've poured love into someone who wasn't pouring it back. They learn it after they've waited for the text that never came, after they've smiled through disappointment, after they've mistaken effort for love and attention for connection. They learn it when they finally realize that wanting him isn't enough to make him want you, because attraction doesn't grow out of need, it grows out of value. And the moment you start centering your worth around how much someone wants you, you lose the very thing that would have made him chase you in the first place. And you see, most women believe that to make a man want more, they have to give more time, more affection, more reassurance, more understanding. But the truth is, it's not the woman who gives more that gets chosen. It's the woman who gives selectively. The woman who can say, I like you, but I also like myself. That's the energy that creates mystery. That's the energy that makes a man lean in, that makes him think about you long after the conversation ends. Because when you're not constantly seeking his approval, he starts seeking yours. And there's a subtle but powerful shift that happens when you stop trying to prove that you're worthy of love and instead start acting like you already are. That shift changes everything. It changes how you text, how you walk into a room, how you respond when he pulls away. When you know your value, you stop chasing clarity from others and start providing it for yourself. You stop saying, why hasn't he called? And start asking, why would I keep giving energy to someone who doesn't show up for me? That's not arrogance. It's emotional maturity. It's understanding that the right man isn't inspired by how much you need him. He's inspired by how much you respect yourself. And when a man meets a woman who is confident but kind, warm but grounded, giving but not self-sacrificing, she stands out. Not because she plays games, but because she doesn't need to. Her boundaries are her power. Her standards are her filter. She doesn't beg for attention. She earns respect by knowing when to walk away from what doesn't feel right. And that's what drives men wild, not her beauty, not her availability, but her emotional independence. It's that rare energy that says, you can be in my world, but you will never be my whole world. And the problem is, many women think being high value means being distant or hard to get. But it's not about being cold. It's about being centered. It's not about ignoring him. It's about not losing yourself in him. You can be deeply loving and still not tolerate inconsistency. You can care deeply and still say no. You can want him and still not chase him. That balance is magnetic. Because when a man feels that you're emotionally secure, he feels safe to pursue you. You become the calm in his storm, not another wave pulling him under. And most people chase validation because they don't believe they can be desired without overgiving. But the truth is, the most desirable energy is peace. A woman who is at peace with herself doesn't perform for love. She attracts it. She doesn't ask, what do I need to do to keep him interested? She asks, is this connection even feeding my soul? She's not afraid of losing someone who's inconsistent because she knows losing what's wrong creates space for what's right. And that quiet confidence sits intoxicating, and you want to make him want more. Stop showing up like you're afraid of losing him. Start showing up like he's lucky to have found you. When you talk to him, let your curiosity lead, but don't make him the center of your joy. When you go on a date, don't focus on impressing him, focus on whether you feel impressed. When he goes silent, don't panic. Pause. Use that silence to see his character, because the right man doesn't disappear when things get real. He shows up stronger. And when he realizes that your attention is something he has to earn, not something you hand out for free, that's when desire begins. And desire thrives on respect. Respect is born from boundaries, and boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They don't keep love out, they protect it. When a man sees that you're not controlled by your emotions, but guided by your values, he starts seeing you differently. You're no longer an option, you're an experience. A woman who knows what she brings doesn't settle for half effort. She doesn't accept being almost chosen. She doesn't wait for potential. She values reality. That kind of woman doesn't inspire games. She inspires growth. And here's the truth most women learn too late. Being chosen is not the goal. Being valued is. You don't want to be someone's convenience. You want to be someone's clarity. You don't want to be the woman he keeps because it's easy. You want to be the woman he works for because she's worth it. The moment you realize that, your energy shifts completely. You stop competing with other women because you're not trying to be better than anyone. You're just being you without apology. That's the kind of authenticity that no one can replicate. And when you stop fearing loss, you gain power. The power to walk away from anyone who doesn't meet you halfway. The power to say no without guilt. The power to wait for alignment, not attention. That's when the dynamic flips. That's when men start chasing. Because now, your love becomes a privilege, not an entitlement. He sees that your heart isn't something he can take for granted. It's something he has to rise to deserve. And when a man feels that, he doesn't just want you, he respects you. He doesn't just desire you, he prioritizes you. And the secret to making him want more isn't about playing it cool. It's about being real. It's about being confident enough to say what you want, but wise enough not to settle for less. It's about showing affection without losing self-respect. It's about loving fully, but never at the cost of your peace. Because when your energy says, I am already whole, every man who meets you feels that he has to add to your life, not complete it. And that's where lasting attraction is born, from admiration, not dependency. And so, stop trying to be the woman who's always available, always understanding, always forgiving, no matter how she's treated. Start being the woman who listens to her intuition, who values her time, who protects her peace like it's gold. That energy, unapologetic, grounded, radiant, is irresistible. Because what truly makes a man want more isn't how much you give. It's how much you glow when you stop giving to the wrong things. And when you embody that kind of self-worth, you no longer need to chase love. It chases you. You no longer wait to be seen. You become unforgettable. And that, right there, is what women learn too late. That the moment you choose yourself, everything else begins to choose you too. And when that shift finally happens, when a woman truly wakes up to her worth, it's like something inside of her clicks. She stops trying to decode mixed signals because she's no longer satisfied with confusion. She stops asking, "What's wrong with me?" Because she finally understands there was never anything wrong with her. She was just giving her energy to the wrong person. She begins to see that love isn't about earning someone's affection. It's about creating a connection where both people show up equally. She no longer feels the need to prove she's lovable. She just starts living like she is. That shift in energy doesn't just change her relationships. It changes her entire life. And when you walk through the world knowing your value, people treat you differently. Your standards silently command respect. You stop tolerating inconsistency because you know what consistency feels like within yourself. You stop waiting for someone else to make you feel chosen because you already chose yourself. You stop giving chances to people who only show up when it's convenient. You stop explaining your worth to those who can't see it. And here's the beautiful thing. The moment you stop trying to convince others to value you, you attract those who naturally do. And there's something magnetic about a woman who doesn't chase, but also doesn't close her heart. She's open, but not desperate. She's kind, but not naive. She's emotionally intelligent enough to see through charm and confident enough not to settle for it. She doesn't confuse chemistry for compatibility or attention for affection. And when a man meets her, he can feel that energy instantly. It's not something she says, it's something she is. She's not performing, she's just aligned. And alignment is what draws real love in. And you see, attraction isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about how you make someone feel when they're around you. And when a man feels that your peace is unshakable, that your joy doesn't depend on his attention, he starts to see you differently. He starts to admire you because you're no longer part of the crowd that competes for his time. You're the standard he measures others against. You become the calm in his chaos, the woman who doesn't demand love but inspires it. And the truth is, men are drawn to women who challenge them not with games, but with self-respect. A challenge isn't about making someone chase endlessly. It's about making them earn what's meaningful. It's about letting someone know that intimacy with you emotionally, mentally, physically is something sacred, something that requires effort, care, and intention. When you treat your love like it's valuable, others start to treat it that way too. But when you hand it out freely to anyone who shows a little interest, you teach people that they don't have to work for it. And what comes easy rarely feels valuable, and every woman at some point learns that love doesn't mean losing yourself. It doesn't mean proving your loyalty to someone who's unsure about you. It doesn't mean being patient while someone figures out their feelings at the expense of yours. Real love doesn't ask you to shrink. It invites you to expand. And if you have to become smaller just to fit into someone's life, they're not your person. When you realize that, you stop trying to squeeze yourself into situations that were never built for you. You stop chasing clarity from people who thrive on confusion. You stop mistaking intensity for intimacy. And suddenly, your energy shifts from "I hope they like me" to "I hope this feels right for me." And that's the transformation. That's what makes you powerful. Not pretending to be someone else, not playing hard to get, but owning who you are and standing by what you deserve. Because when you do that, you'll notice something fascinating. People will rise to meet you. The right ones will lean in, and the wrong ones will fall away. The ones who wanted you because you were easy to access will lose interest, but the ones who see your strength, your kindness, and your confidence, they'll be captivated. Because what they'll feel isn't control, it's admiration. And admiration builds desire. And a woman who knows her worth doesn't have to be loud about it. Her silence speaks louder than any explanation. When she doesn't respond to disrespect, when she doesn't beg for attention, when she doesn't lower her standards for convenience, her absence becomes her statement. Her energy says, "I'm not angry, I'm just unavailable for anything that doesn't serve me." That's the kind of energy that leaves a lasting impression. Because while everyone else is busy reacting, she's moving on. And here's what many women don't realize until later. The reason he's not chasing you isn't because you're not enough. It's because you've made yourself too available for someone who hasn't earned that access. Desire needs space. Connection needs effort. If you give everything too soon, there's nothing left for him to pursue. When you slow down, when you match his energy instead of overcompensating for it, you create a rhythm that builds tension, excitement, and curiosity. You make him wonder, and that wondering keeps his mind on you long after you've walked away. And the secret isn't to be less available, it's to be selectively available. It's to give your time to people who are intentional, not inconsistent. It's to show warmth when it's reciprocated, not when it's convenient for them. It's to recognize that your time and energy are your most powerful currencies, and anyone who wants access to them should bring something valuable to the table. That's how you keep your power without losing your softness. That's how you make him want more, by showing that your love is a privilege, not a possession. And every time you catch yourself wondering why he isn't giving more, pause and ask yourself, am I giving too much to someone who's giving too little? Because love isn't about imbalance. It's not about proving your devotion. It's about partnership. You deserve someone who matches your energy, not someone who drains it. Someone who adds to your peace, not someone who disturbs it. And when you hold that standard firmly, your energy shifts from scarcity to abundance. You stop chasing love and start attracting it naturally, because now you're operating from a place of confidence, not fear. And it's in that confidence that men start to feel something different around you. They feel challenged but not intimidated. They feel safe but still intrigued. You create an environment where a man wants to step up, not because you demanded it, but because your energy inspires it. You don't need to lecture him about your worth. He feels it. You don't need to remind him what he could lose. He already knows. That's what happens when you lead with self-respect. People mirror it back to you, and this realization, this deep, unshakable knowing of who you are, becomes your superpower. You stop settling for half, love, and almost relationships. You stop apologizing for wanting effort, commitment, or clarity. You stop blaming yourself for other people's inability to show up, because you finally understand that someone's inconsistency isn't a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their capacity. You can't teach someone how to treat you, but you can show them what happens when they don't. And the moment you stop trying to convince a man of your worth, you give him the space to realize it on his own. And if he doesn't, you let him go not with anger, but with grace, because you know your energy is too rare to waste on confusion. You know that real love doesn't require begging, proving, or chasing. It flows naturally between two people who are emotionally ready for it. And until that person shows up, you continue building your life, your passions, your friendships, your purpose. Because the more you build yourself, the more magnetic you become. And that's what women learn too late, that you don't attract love by needing it, you attract it by living it. You don't make someone want you by chasing them. You make them want you by embodying the energy of someone who's already fulfilled. When you live with joy, when you set boundaries with kindness, when you give love from overflow instead of emptiness, you become unforgettable. Because that's the energy of a woman who's not waiting to be chosen. She's already chosen herself, and that's exactly what makes everyone else want to choose her too. And when a woman finally starts living in that truth, when she stops trying to control the outcome and instead controls her own energy, everything changes. She no longer clings to people out of fear. She connects from a place of confidence. She no longer overthinks every message, every silence, every delay. She stops interpreting every pause as rejection and starts understanding it as information, because when you know your worth, silence is never confusing, it's clarifying. You stop chasing answers from people who already gave them through their actions. You stop needing closure from those who showed you who they were. You simply observe, accept, and move on with grace. And the most magnetic women in the world are not the ones who are the loudest, the flashiest, or the most available. They're the ones who live with purpose, the ones who have depth, the ones who bring meaning and warmth into a man's life, but never at the expense of their own. When you meet such a woman, you feel her energy before she even speaks. She doesn't have to demand attention. It naturally flows toward her. She doesn't have to fight for respect. Her presence commands it. And that presence comes from years of self-awareness, from learning through pain, from deciding to never again hand her peace to someone else for safekeeping. And when you've been through heartbreak, disappointment, or betrayal, it's easy to let it harden you. But real power comes from letting it shape you, not break you. The strongest women aren't the ones who build walls. They're the ones who build gates. They know who to let in, who to keep out, and when to lock the door completely. They've learned that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's wisdom with boundaries. They can open their hearts fully, but they no longer give the key to anyone who hasn't earned it. That's what makes them unforgettable. That's what makes a man crave their energy even when he's not around them. And the moment you stop performing for approval, your energy shifts. You start walking differently, you speak differently, you hold your space differently, you stop apologizing for taking up room, for having standards, for wanting something real. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable, because the truth is, real love never asks you to shrink. It grows around your strength. And the right person won't be scared of your power, they'll be inspired by it. They won't need you to dim your light so they can shine. They'll want to stand beside you and glow with you. And so many women think they have to suppress parts of themselves to be loved. They hide their intelligence because they don't want to intimidate him. They hide their success because they don't want to seem too much. They hide their emotions because they don't want to be too sensitive. But the very things they suppress are the things that make them magnetic. The man who's meant for you will never see your strength as competition. He'll see it as beauty. He won't be overwhelmed by your depth, he'll be drawn to it. He won't silence your emotions, he'll feel honored to understand them. Because real men don't fear powerful women, they respect them. But to attract that kind of energy, you have to first stop entertaining anything that feels beneath your growth. You can't call in peace while you're entertaining chaos. You can't call in loyalty while you're accepting inconsistency. You can't attract depth while you're entertaining shallowness out of loneliness. You have to make room for what you deserve by letting go of what drains you. And that's the part women often resist the letting go. Because even when something hurts, it feels familiar. But healing requires choosing unfamiliar peace over familiar pain. And when you finally walk away from the wrong person, it doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've graduated. It means you've learned the lesson that love is not supposed to cost you your sanity, your sleep, or your self-respect. And when you leave with grace instead of resentment, you carry your power with you. You don't leave pieces of yourself behind. That's when you start glowing differently. People see it in your eyes. They feel it in your presence. You're no longer asking for love. You've become it. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you no longer need someone to validate you, that's when people start craving your validation. When you no longer chase attention, that's when it starts chasing you. When you stop overgiving, people begin giving to you. Because energy always mirrors itself. When your energy says, I am enough, the world reflects that truth right back at you. And the woman who truly knows her worth no longer runs after affection that feels uncertain. She doesn't beg for effort. She doesn't lower her voice just to be liked. She doesn't force conversations that feel forced. She doesn't try to convince someone to choose her. She spends her time choosing herself. Because she understands that her time, her energy, and her love are precious currencies. and whoever wants them has to bring consistency, honesty, and depth to the table. And men are drawn to that kind of woman because she represents freedom, not the freedom to do whatever he wants, but the freedom to be his best self around her. She doesn't demand perfection, but she expects effort. She doesn't punish mistakes, but she doesn't excuse patterns. She doesn't cling, she invites. She doesn't chase, she inspires. And when a man feels that, he starts showing up differently. He starts thinking differently, he starts planning differently, because for the first time he's not trying to keep her out of fear. He's trying to keep her because he sees her value. And that's the kind of energy that makes a man's world shift, because he's not just attracted to her beauty, he's captivated by her peace. He's not just impressed by her words, he's moved by her presence. He's not just drawn to her body, he's pulled in by her soul. She becomes the kind of woman who doesn't just take up space in his life, but in his mind and his heart. Not because she tries to, but because she embodies something rare, an energy that can't be found in someone who's still trying to prove their worth. And this is where most women make the mistake. They confuse being wanted with being valued. They chase the thrill of attention instead of the stability of respect. But attention fades the moment someone new walks into the room. Respect lasts long after you're gone. So stop trying to be the most wanted woman in his life. Start being the most respected one. Because respect breeds loyalty, and loyalty is the foundation of love that lasts. And every time you hold yourself to a higher standard, you teach people how to treat you. Every time you walk away from something that doesn't feel right, you reinforce your worth. Every time you choose peace over drama, you attract more of it. That's how transformation works. It's not loud, it's consistent. It's not about grand gestures, it's about quiet choices. And when you move through the world with that kind of calm confidence, people can feel it before you even speak. It's in the way you smile without trying to be noticed. It's in the way you don't rush to fill silences with nervous words. It's in the way you listen deeply, but never lose yourself in someone else's story. That kind of presence is rare, and rare things always attract attention. And it's not that she doesn't care, it's that she cares differently now. She still loves, but she loves wisely. She still gives, but she gives with discernment. She still believes in connection, but she no longer sacrifices herself for it. And that evolution, the shift from fear-based love to self-assured love, is what changes everything. And because, at the end of the day, it's not about making a man want you. It's about becoming the kind of woman who naturally inspires desire. A woman who lives with intention, who knows who she is, who doesn't wait for someone to make her feel special because she already wakes up knowing that she is. A woman who brings light, peace, and depth into every space she walks into. That's the kind of energy that makes people remember you long after you're gone, not because you begged to be remembered, but because you left an imprint too powerful to forget. And when she reaches that level of awareness, her entire approach to love changes. She no longer measures her worth by the effort someone gives her. She measures it by the peace she refuses to lose. She no longer waits for validation because she validates herself through her choices, her growth, her self-respect. She no longer feels anxious when someone pulls away because she knows that anything that's meant for her won't require her to beg for consistency. She becomes calm in situations that once made her insecure, not because she stopped caring, but because she started trusting her energy more than anyone's promises. And she starts to see love for what it really is, a reflection, not a rescue, a mirror, not a mission. She understands that relationships are not about fixing someone, they're about choosing someone who's willing to grow beside you. She stops pouring into people who only take. She stops trying to convince someone to meet her halfway when they've already shown they won't take a single step. And she realizes that the moment she stops trying to make someone see her value is the moment she becomes truly visible. And a woman like that doesn't chase connections anymore. She curates them. She becomes intentional with her presence. She listens more than she explains. She gives less of her energy to potential and more to peace. She doesn't romanticize red flags or try to paint over someone's indifference with excuses. She trusts patterns more than words. And that's when she starts to attract men who respect her boundaries instead of testing them, men who want to contribute to her happiness instead of consuming it. And you can feel her difference when she walks into a room. She doesn't have to compete for attention because her energy already draws it. There's something in the way she carries herself, unhurried, self-assured, grounded. You can see that she's not chasing love, she's living it. Her joy isn't conditional. Her confidence isn't situational. Her peace doesn't depend on whether or not someone texts back. And that energy is magnetic because it's rare. Most people are so desperate to be seen that they forget how powerful it is to simply be. And when she speaks, it's not from a place of proving, it's from a place of knowing. She knows that she doesn't have to be perfect to be loved. She doesn't have to suppress her softness to be respected. She doesn't have to earn someone's affection by overextending herself. She knows that the right man won't be confused about her. He won't need convincing. He won't disappear when things get real. He'll meet her energy with clarity, effort, and consistency, because he'll recognize her as the kind of woman you don't play games with, you build with. But that kind of energy doesn't come overnight. It comes from heartbreak that taught her self-worth. It comes from being underestimated and realizing she doesn't need to be understood by everyone. It comes from years of giving too much and finally learning that love without boundaries is self-betrayal. She's been the woman who waited for the call, who settled for half love, who hoped someone would change. And because of that, she's no longer willing to repeat those lessons. She's graduated. Her peace became her diploma. And she starts to see that not everyone deserves access to her softness. Her energy is no longer a public resource. It's earned. She no longer entertains maybes or half-efforts. She's not afraid to say no, to end conversations that go nowhere, or to walk away when respect disappears. Because she's learned that walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing herself. It means honoring the lessons she's paid for with her heart. And when she moves with that kind of clarity, she doesn't lose people. She reveals who was never truly meant for her. And that revelation makes her unstoppable. She becomes the kind of woman who inspires rather than pleases. The kind who can love deeply without losing herself. The kind who can be nurturing without being naive. The kind who can give without needing to be drained. She becomes whole, and that wholeness is what makes her unforgettable. Because people don't fall for her because she's available. They fall because she's authentic. Because she's not trying to be what they want. She's simply being who she is. And there's a difference between being wanted and being chosen. Being wanted is easy. It's surface level, often temporary. But being chosen happens when someone sees your soul, your strength, your kindness, your boundaries, and still says, I want to be here. And that's the kind of connection she waits for now. Not the kind that looks exciting but burns out quickly. Not the kind that keeps her guessing. Not the kind that drains her energy in exchange for crumbs of affection. But the kind that brings peace, growth, and consistency. And the beauty is, she no longer feels the need to rush toward that kind of connection. She's not in a hurry, she's not desperate, she's not scared of being alone. She's learned that solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. It's the space where she reconnects with her essence, refills her energy, and rediscovers her passions. It's the space where she remembers that she was whole long before anyone told her she was incomplete. And when she lives from that truth, she stops chasing love because she's already living in alignment with it. And she begins to radiate something that words can't quite describe. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's the quiet power of a woman who knows she's enough, the calm confidence of someone who's no longer shaken by inconsistency, the magnetic pull of someone who doesn't need attention to feel seen. She moves with intention now. Every yes has meaning, every no has weight, every silence has power, and that power makes people sit up and pay attention. And when she interacts with a man now, the dynamic feels different. She's no longer waiting for him to decide her value. She's observing to see if he can match it. She's not auditioning for love. She's interviewing for partnership. She's not asking, will he like me? But do I feel peace here? And that's the difference. Because when a woman starts prioritizing peace over attention, she becomes impossible to replace. And she no longer falls for potential, she looks for patterns, she no longer stays for memories, she focuses on behavior. She no longer confuses effort with consistency. She understands that someone can chase her and still not be ready to keep her. And when she sees the red flags, she doesn't paint them pink. She thanks her intuition for showing her early. Because she's learned that ignoring red flags always costs more later, and she becomes emotionally fluent. She can express her needs without fear, set boundaries without guilt, and walk away without resentment. She knows that maturity isn't just about patience, it's about discernment. She's not impressed by grand gestures that come with no follow-through. She values the quiet actions that build trust day by day. She no longer equates drama with passion or unpredictability with love. She's seen what chaos feels like, and now she only entertains peace, and here's what happens when she reaches that level. She becomes magnetic without trying. People sense her calm and want to be near it. They feel her warmth and want to protect it. They see her strength and want to rise to it. She becomes the standard, not the exception, because her energy no longer says, please choose me. It says, I choose myself every day. And that, more than anything else, is what makes her unforgettable. And she's not bitter, she's wise. She's not guarded, she's grounded. She's not detached, she's discerning. She's learned that the right love won't feel like a game, it'll feel like peace. It won't make her question her worth, it'll remind her of it. And until she finds that, she's not waiting, she's thriving. She's living, growing, and loving her life in full color. Because once you learn that your energy is sacred, you stop giving it to what drains you and start giving it to what expands you. And that shift, that deep and quiet power, is the very thing that makes the world turn to look at her and think, there's something about her I can't forget.